fact of the matter is the Colorado Supreme Court has determined that Donald Trump did engage in insurrection and that his actions have disqualified him from being president.
You may be seated. Thank you.
The decision by 4 Colorado judges to bar Donald Trump from the state presidential ballot is an ugly turn that threatens nothing but trouble for American law and democracy, writes the editorial board. Even if the US Supreme Court overturns the ruling, as it probably will do, the Colorado decision will confirm for millions of Americans that Mr. Trump's opponents will stop at nothing to deny them their democratic choice.
They say he's a danger to democracy, when in fact it is decisions like this that pose the greatest risk of all time to our democracy.
Anti-Trump lawyers have been peddling that Mr. Trump can be disqualified under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. And Colorado's 4-3 Supreme Court majority is the first court to buy the argument, which relied largely on evidence compiled by the House January 6 Special Committee.
Nancy Pelosi broke 200 plus years of precedent by not allowing the Republican minority leader to appoint members of a sitting committee.
Mr. Trump's behavior after the 2020 election through January 6 was disgraceful.
We're going to try and give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take back our country.
But the evidence is unpersuasive that this amounted to insurrection or rebellion under the statutory or constitutional meaning of those terms.
To reach this decision, the court had to decide that, one, the January 6th Capitol riot was in fact an insurrection, and that, two, Trump engaged in insurrection on January 6th, and third, that it actually applies to the president.
The Colorado justices claim the 14th Amendment is self-executing, which means that ballot disqualification doesn't require a conviction in court. Yet the Senate acquitted Mr. Trump of the impeachment charge of insurrection.
John Trump be, and he is hereby acquitted of the charge in said article.
And Special Counsel Jack Smith didn't include insurrection in his 4-count indictment of Mr. Trump. The Colorado 4 also do a legal dance around the fact that Section 3's disqualification clause doesn't expressly include the president, something that will get careful scrutiny at the US Supreme Court.
I think we're going to see very quickly the argument about whether this court was politicized. That's what Republicans are going to be arguing.
The justices could decline to hear Mr. Trump's appeal, but given the legal and democratic stakes, they almost have to take it.
I think the court knows that if it's going to take the case, it's got to decide quickly so that we don't have 50 different states, 50 different courts, and 50 different standards about who's allowed to run for president.
Dragging the Supreme Court into the presidential race is in itself damaging to democracy. Mr. Smith has already asked the justices to weigh in on Mr. Trump's claims of immunity from prosecution, but whatever the court decides, half the country is going to be angry.
I think liberals understand that, even though they, politically oppose former President Trump, that this isn't exactly the way that the Constitution envisioned it playing out.
The Colorado disqualification shows how Democrats are determined to make 2024 an election decided by lawyers, not voters. They seem to believe that this is the way to finally banish Donald Trump from politics. But have they really been paying attention? Their second impeachment didn't finish him, and 4 indictments with 91 felony counts have caused GOP voters to rally to his side.
I don't have much question they will overturn this decision, but they should do it unanimously.
This ballot denial gambit is likely to have a similar effect, and it will dominate the political news from now to the January 15th Iowa caucuses.
That's a very dangerous precedent to say that a partisan court can just take somebody off the ballot.
We don't need to have judges making these decisions. We need voters to make these decisions.